screen, you should see some general information about participating in today's webinar. I'm going to go over a few of these items very quickly before we get started. Our presenter will be answering questions at the end of the webinar. If you do have questions, please use the chat function of WebEx to direct questions to the webinar host, which is me, during the presentation. We're using voice over IP technology to broadcast the audio for today's webinar, so please make sure you have the volume turned up on your PC if you're having trouble hearing. Voice over IP quality may vary depending on network traffic. So if you are having trouble hearing, please call in to listen to the webinar over our conference line. The toll-free telephone number and participant passcode for the conference line are listed next to the green telephone icon on this slide. If you do call into the conference line, please be sure to mute your telephone. You can continue the conversation with us and your fellow attendees after the webinar using the Discussions tab of the Allen Press Facebook page. Here you can post a comment, share an idea, or ask a question. We also encourage attendees to tweet during and after the event using the hashtag APWeb27. Today, Bridget Lamb will share best practices for creating and maintaining an integrated marketing strategy. Bridget works in our publishing department handling journal and society marketing. She currently manages the marketing for 10 of our co-publishing titles and handles individual marketing activities for several other journals. Bridget graduated from the University of Kansas with degrees in strategic communications and English. She's still an avid KU fan, and in her free time, Bridget likes to read, travel, and check items off her bucket list. I'm going to turn the presentation over to Bridget now. Don't forget to send me your questions during the presentation.
Thanks, Joanna. Today's presentation is an introductory level presentation about integrated marketing. Integrated marketing combines your business goals, what you know about your product, market, and current situation, and creates a strong, carefully chosen tactics that really have a unified purpose. So as marketers, we have a tendency to want to jump right into the tactics. We think, hey, let's do marketing, let's send an email campaign. What are we going to do with that? This presentation isn't going to be about marketing in that way. It's really going to be about having smart, integrated marketing that is based on facts, carefully planned, integrated, and goal-oriented. We're going to talk about how to do that by looking through the framework of a marketing plan. Some of you may be familiar with the marketing plan, some of you haven't, but I'm going to use that as the framework for my presentation and continue in that way. A marketing plan is a good tool for carefully developing smart tactics. I'm going to talk you through all the steps and give you tools for developing your own marketing plan and each section of it. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the marketing plan, it's a written document that includes analysis of what's going on with your product and situation. It carefully defines your goals, it has information about the marketplace, and then in the end you kind of have a to-do list for all of your tactics that are going to help you accomplish those goals. Having all of this written down really encourages you to make educated decisions and have accountability and make sure you're executing the tactics that you already have. In his November 2012 article, Joe Esposito talks in Scholarly Kitchen about strategic planning and the not-for-profit publisher. It's a really interesting article, and I highly recommend reading it. The part that stood out to me the most was when he talked about how marketing plans, creating them, really is a part of the way that we naturally think in a business. We naturally think about what's going on, how can we respond to that, and as marketers, what marketing activities can we do to counteract that situation? So if creating a marketing plan feels like something that's outside of the norm for you, I really encourage you to think about it in a fresh way and just think about it as something you naturally do, just in a more formal environment. So as Joanna mentioned, I work with journal and society marketing. So these are some of the publications that I market. So we create a marketing plan for every journal that we co-publish and really use that to be focused in our marketing. But a marketing plan can work for absolutely anything. A lot of you work with societies or journals. You guys might have books that you publish or services that you offer. Really, you can create a marketing plan for anything that you're going to sell or that you want to promote in some way. And really, you should create a marketing plan. Because if you're not carefully developing your tactics, you're just wasting your time and you're not going to be targeted and focused. Also, a marketing plan shouldn't be just a one-off project. It should be a larger part of what you have planned for your business. So when you're sitting down to start on your marketing plan, think about your larger business plans and what you have for your company goals, image, and values. You want to keep those in mind moving forward. Throughout this presentation, I'm going to continually reference your coworkers and what a valuable asset they are. Bringing in your teammates and coworkers is going to make your marketing plan a lot stronger, and I highly encourage you to pull those in, even if you're the only marketer, or maybe if marketing is just one part of your job. Pull in other people as you're working on this and get their feedback so that you can make a stronger marketing plan. This is our agenda for today. We're going to talk through all the different steps in a marketing plan the way that we use them at Allen Press. They're pretty standard, but everybody does their marketing plans a little bit different. I'm going to talk through all the sections, why they're important, and give you tools so that you can develop your own marketing plan and have the sections for that and develop them on your own. So this is our overview. As you'll see, each one of those agenda items is within its own cog on this presentation. I really want you to understand that all of these things work together carefully to have developed integrated tactics, which are, as you can see right there in the middle, and you need to have all of them working to make this all work smoothly like a machine. We're going to start by talking about analytics and analysis. You really want to base all of your actions on facts, and that's what you're developing in this section. The three main things we're going to talk about are product analysis, situation analysis, and consumer analysis. I'm going to start by talking about product analysis. To make a product analysis, you're really thinking about what you have physically, but more importantly, what that means to your customer and what value does that give them. I'm going to play a video now of Steve Jobs explaining how Apple approaches marketing really by communicating their value, and they've always done this very well. So I apologize for the low quality. It's an older video of Steve Jobs, but definitely has a good message that he's coming across with.
Marketing is about values. This is a very complicated world. It's a very noisy world. And we're not going to get a chance to get people to remember much about us. No companies. And so we have to be really clear on what we want them to know about us. Our customers want to know who is Apple and what is it that we stand for. Where do we fit in this world? And what we're about isn't making boxes for people to get their jobs done, although we do that well. We do that better than almost anybody in some cases. But Apple's about something more than that. Apple, at the core, its core value is that we believe that people with passion can change the world for them. That's what we believe.
So you can see it's important for large companies like Apple to really communicate their value well, even though they have a large share of the market already. It's especially important for small businesses to stand out. We don't necessarily have the quantity or the budget to have a large quantity of marketing to stand out, so we really need to focus on the quality of the product that we're communicating and what that can offer to our consumer and customers. This is a white paper by Duct Tape Marketing, and it's about steps for small businesses to have marketing success. One of their sections is about differentiating your business. And John really talks about how your customers are a wonderful resource when you're trying to develop what value your product gives them. Talk to them and ask them why they subscribe to your journal or belong to your society, what value that is that it's giving them. It might be different than what you see as your current strengths, and asking them for feedback can really help you develop a good vision of your product. This study points out that if there's no differentiation, customers will usually choose on price. And as, in general, smaller publications and societies, we can't really afford to get into a price war with people, so we need to make sure that we differentiate ourselves with the value. So all in all, you really want to know your product on a deep level, and that's important to start your marketing plan off on the right foot, really knowing what your product is and what value it gives other consumers and customers. So now that you know what's going on with your product and really defined what it is, you want to dive into what's the current situation for your product. How are you doing? It's judging how you're doing over time and what that informs you so that you can make your tactics better. Since I primarily work with journals, some of the things that I look for are submission and subscription information. If you're working for a society, maybe your membership rates, what your consumers are thinking about your company and what feedback they've given you, what your reputation is in the industry and among your colleagues, how people are using your online website. That's becoming a larger part of a lot of organizations, and that's important to look at as well. And then financially, how you're doing. I'm going to share with you some of the tools that I use to do complete a situation analysis, and obviously for everybody it'll be unique to them, but these are just some good places to get started. The number one tool that I see is your colleagues. Developing a marketing plan can take time, and you really want to be efficient with that. And a lot of the things that you're already tracking, like financials, submission information, and subscription rates, are probably already tracked by somebody else within your company. Make sure to take the time to ask them what information they already have so that you can just move forward with analyzing that data and you don't have to spend your time collecting it. Another really great resource is Google Analytics. If you haven't used Google Analytics before, it's a free service you sign up for and get it all set up on your website, and then you can see a lot of the different reports that they have. This is one of the most basic reports on Google Analytics on the screen. And it shows how many people are visiting your website. You can look at it by day, week, and month and put it over any time that you want. You can even compare it year over year. So say compare January 1st to December 31st, 2012 to that same time period in 2013 and see how you've improved or declined in your website visitors. It's good information to have. I'm going to talk more about Google Analytics throughout this presentation because there really are a lot of very useful reports in it. This is another one of the reports that Google Analytics has, and I really enjoy looking at it. This is called in-page analytics. And what all these little orange boxes are showing are the percent of total people who came to your website, what percent of them clicked on this link. This can help you see what parts of your website are being utilized and what parts maybe aren't being clicked on as much. Maybe you should reposition things to try and drive more awareness of those sections and drive more traffic to those pages. Another great resource is SurveyMonkey. They have paid versions and free versions, and you can really develop anything you want in your questions. As you're trying to figure out your situation analysis, I recommend asking your readers or subscribers or members about their opinions of your product, the reputation that it has, how they use it and interact with it. Do they access the online version? Do they access the print version? Also, you can ask about your competition, what other publications they read, or other societies that they belong to, and any general feedback that you're looking for about your product. Asking your customers, like I said, is one of your strongest resources. So you want to get that information from them, and SurveyMonkey is a great way to do that. Another couple of good resources are Google Alerts and Mention. These are two resources that roughly do the same thing. You sign up for an account with them and put in what product or phrase that you want to receive an alert about. So I can set a Google alert for the Cleft Palate and Craniofacial Journal, which is one of the publications that I work with, and I would do the same thing on Mention. And then you'll receive emails from these resources anytime somebody on the internet mentions your product. This is really nice because you don't have to go out and check it all the time. This information is sent directly to you, which makes it really straightforward and simple. I recommend signing up for both of these because I've noticed personally that I receive some resources or notifications from Mention that I don't necessarily get from Google Alerts. So signing up for both of them ensures that you're, getting more of the full picture. As you're looking at your situation analysis, I recommend looking at trends year over year. 5 years is a good span of time to truly get a big picture of what's going on. This will help you see if what you're looking at from the year before is just a fluke, or if that's, really something that's actually happening year over year and really something you should take seriously and address with your marketing. So knowing what is and has been going on with your company, product, or association helps you better make decisions about your marketing goals and what you want to accomplish with those tactics. The next section that we're going to talk about is analyzing your consumer and the current customers, readers, and members that you have. Looking at your subscription or membership lists will really help you see geographically, probably, where your consumers are. This can help you see if you have a mostly U.S.-based consumer base, or maybe if you're more international, and help you make more decisions about where you want to focus your efforts or other marketing tactics. You can see if you have good retention, how that's working out for your product. If you have a lot of longevity and loyal customers, or if you have a high turnover rate. This could change the way that you're approaching tactics. Also, are people switching subscription types? Since we work with publications, that's something that we've noticed in the past few years, is that a lot of people are switching from print and online subscriptions to online only. This has helped us, have the hard facts behind our focus on developing our websites more and putting fresh content on them more frequently. Because you have those facts, you're better able to make educated decisions about the tactics that you're going to do for your product. I told you I was going to talk more about Google Analytics, and this is the part where I'm going to do it. There are a lot of wonderful reports from Google Analytics, and they're constantly developing new ones. I noticed about probably every 2 months, there's new things on there that I didn't notice before. And I love poking around and seeing what there is to offer. So I'm going to share with you a few of the reports that I tend to look at, and I encourage you to go on and find what ones are the most useful to you. This is the audience location view of Google Analytics, and it helps you to see, with the whole map visually and also with the numbers at the bottom there, how many people are visiting your website from what countries. I find it really interesting to compare this to the geographical information that I receive from my subscription lists and see, maybe we don't have a lot of subscribers in India, but we have a lot of people that are coming to the website there. That could be an emerging market and somewhere that we should focus on marketing in the future. This is the web traffic or web flow, I believe it's called, report in Google Analytics. And it shows where people enter on the far left. That's the landing page where they came into the website. And then all of the, blue sections are showing where they're moving within that. So you can see if people are generally entering at the article level, possibly from PubMed, then they tend to go to the TOC alert, or if they're moving to other full-length articles within that. And then the red blocks are showing you how many people are dropping off after that section. So this can help you see where you're losing people and where you might want to focus on fleshing out the online content that you have. This is the trackbacks feature. It collects and records all the, kind of like mention and Google Alerts, all the websites that are linking back to your website. And it shows you, if you click on these links, it'll take you to the actual page so you can see what they say about you. But it gives you the link and then how many people are visiting your site from that link. So you can see that top underline, that was a press release that we put out. So that showed the press release, on that website. We posted on allenpress.com website, And then that bottom one is another herpetology society, and they reposted the TOC alert. So it's good to see who's sharing your content and possibly what groups you should be working with and engaging with to spread the word about your product. Finally, this is a report about where people are entering your website. Are they typically coming on the home page or at the article level? This can help you see, really where people are entering and how, again, you want to keep them engaged. A lot of people are only visiting 1 or 2 pages within a website, so you really want to take the time to make sure the pages that they are coming to first are really fleshed out and strong. So obviously there's a lot that you can get from Google Analytics, and it's a really good tool. So there are a lot of good resources out there for how to set it up. I think this is a good resource, very simple, pretty straightforward, about how to get started with Google Analytics and get your website all set up. So if that's something that interests you, I recommend looking at this article. I'll have a URL to it at the end of my presentation, so you don't have to search for it too much. And you can get started and start playing around with all those reports. And like we talked about SurveyMonkey before, if you're trying to know what's going on with your customers, SurveyMonkey is a great tool. You're not going to want to ask the same questions that you did for your situation analysis. Maybe you incorporate them all into one survey. Ask your customers about their wants, needs, and habits. Do they use social media? Do they not? Are they aware of the marketing efforts that you've done in the past? How do they typically learn about new resources? And how do they interact with their colleagues? With that information, you'll be better prepared to make decisions on the marketing tactics that you will do for your product. Also, while you're looking at your customers and readers and consumers, try and think about really who are your ideal or, top traffic customers. Who are the people that are spending the most money on your product? Or maybe who are the ones that are really active with sharing things on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Knowing who these kind of top customers are will help you, if you have a limited budget, choose who to focus on if you really want to drive more submission, make more money or have more traffic on social media. These are the people that you're going to want to talk to because they've really shown themselves to be really engaged with your product. So knowing your current customer and your best customers really helps you have better decisions about who you want to target again in the future. Is it more people like you already have, or maybe, a different group? Knowing who's likely and already has shown that they're likely to engage with your product helps you make better marketing decisions in the future. And while you're in the habit of analyzing things, it's always worthwhile to take a look at any past marketing that you've done. There's a great article in the Bloomsburg Business Week that talks about integrated marketing and how it really is important, and if you knew about it, you'd do it. They talk about how we're working and living in an increasingly crowded marketplace. It's crowded with lots of products and lots of marketing messages, and how important it is to have a consistent, integrated marketing that is continually emphasizing the value and the product that you have in similar ways so that people can remember your brand. You want to have a consistent message across your entire company so that, we talked about in the beginning, having your marketing plan being a part of your business plan. You want to be consistent with your marketing and your business as a whole. I found it really interesting in this article that they said the average campaign lasts 2.3 years. So just, continuing with the same general tagline and theme of their campaigns is really driving brand recognition. And really the companies that are growing have longer lasting campaigns even in that 2.3 years. So if you're going to have a campaign that you want to last for over 2 years, you really want to be careful to develop it in a way that will last over time. So putting all this time in to your research and your analysis is really going to pay off in the future, and it's worthwhile. As you're thinking about your past marketing efforts, think about actually what those tactics were and what the goal was you were trying to achieve. Who did you target with them, and what were the results? Was it successful or not? And I've also found it useful to look at the percent of the budget that marketing tactic is spending. If you're spending 80% of your budget on, flyers that are mailing out to people and you haven't seen any results on that yet, you might want to consider rethinking that tactic and redistributing your budget in a way that really supports the goals that you have. Your experiences in your past marketing really is your guide, and it's important to look at where you've been so that you can help understand where you want to go. So knowing what has worked or not is a really useful tool in developing integrated smart marketing tactics. So obviously we've talked about a lot in this analysis section, and it really can take a lot of time the first time you do it. But I want to encourage you that it really is important. And then as you're getting into the habit of using marketing plans in your business and to do your marketing, this is really just going to become something that you do second nature and you're constantly doing. So when you sit down to work on your marketing plan, it's not going to take as much time because you're constantly analyzing what's going on, and it's just formalizing it and writing it all down when it comes time to refresh your marketing plan for the next year. So now we're going to talk about one of my favorite parts, which is the market research. I like this quote: "The number one factor cited in managing a successfully growing business is how well you know your business, your markets, and your industry." With the analysis section, we were talking about how you know your business and your product and what's going on. So now we're going to talk about, your markets and your industry. I really find that as I'm working on this section and developing it, often when I have my most creative ideas, because I'm really immersing myself in the market that I'm, working within and trying to target consumers within. So really what you're looking to find out when you're researching this section is, what's trending, what's new and developing in your industry, what's changed and what has stuck around for a lot of years and you think would, continue to be important to these consumers. And also, what do the people within your market value, want, and need? When there's things that people want and need and value, and you're not finding people who are providing that, those are opportunities for you and your product. And if you can position your product as fulfilling those wants and needs, you really can have some successful marketing. So I'm going to share some of the places that I look for this information, and I want to emphasize that your product for your market research, this is all going to look different because we all have different products. But these are just some tools and websites that I tend to go to whenever I'm doing market research for my journals. So really knowing the field and who is in there is a strong, it's a good information to have. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics uses census data and collects it about all different types of employment and fields. So you click on, find the category that works best for you. And then it breaks it down even more into kind of some subcategories. So we're looking at, dentists and healthcare professionals, and then we're going to look even deeper at the dentists. This is the type of report that you get when you click on that subcategory. In the top left, you'll see that it has the current employment number, so the amount of people that are employed as a dentist in the U.S. as was collected in the census data. And this can help you see how well you're penetrating the market that you're in, if you have maybe a dental society. And then what I also like is toward the bottom of the report, it also has, what sectors of the industry these people are working with. Are they in the office of a dentist? Are they in a physician? Are they in a hospital or with a state government organization? This can help you a lot when you're buying lists and you just want to narrow it down to a specific group. Or you can look and see how you're doing, with the current subscribers that you already have. This is just some of the information that's available on the website, and I encourage you to poke around and see what else you can find. Another section of the Bureau of Labor Statistics is the Occupational Outlook Handbook. I like this just because it gives a broad overview of the field, and then what I find most informative is the information down at the bottom where it says Job Outlook. This will let you know if, from what the BLS has seen, if they see this as a growing industry or a shrinking industry. Knowing, the current state of your market and what's going to happen with them possibly in a few years can really help you better prepare for the future and make better marketing decisions. Since a lot of us work with academic journals or societies or associations, knowing what's going on with the educational situation can really strengthen your marketing. This is a page out of the the college search. It's the Big Future website. This is from the same people that create the SATs and you can click in and find a major or even a profession, select that, and it'll give you a list of all the schools within the United States who have programs in that field. So that's good information to see and compare it to your subscriber list. Another useful tool is WorldCat, and that's what this shows. You type in your publication, and it lets you know all the libraries who currently have access to that. So what we typically do at Allen Press is we look at this information, our subscriber lists, and the information that we got from the Big Future website, and see where the gap is. Who has programs in our field but doesn't currently subscribe to your journal? This is a good target market to use later in your marketing efforts. This is a website that really is kind of a graduate level and focused on medical field called the ACGME, and it has all the information about who has graduate level programs for different specialties. One report that I think is useful out of this is who's newly accredited within your field or your specialty. Looking at those programs, they may be looking to, flesh out the resources that they have since it's a new program, and they could be good targets to ask to subscribe to your journals. And finally, knowing research trends can be really useful for understanding, what submissions might be coming in, or just what are some trends in the research industry. The National Center for Education Statistics and the National Science Foundation both have good resources for that. This is a page from the National Center for Education Statistics, and kind of has a summary of some of the reports that they provide. And if that seems like it'd be a good fit for your publication or your society, that should definitely be something that you look at. The National Science Foundation is really something that I use a lot since we work with a lot of STEM journals. And it helps you see what research trends are going on within the education industry, but then also with business, and sometimes how those interact. What's new? This is a list of a few of the new reports that they have, and they really have a lot. So this is a good resource to look at to really just get a sense of what's going on within the science industry. They also have a list of all the different funding, and that URL is provided in this presentation as well. And finally, I just kind of take a broad look at what's happening within the market. I will search on Wikipedia, the field or maybe the publication or society that I'm working with, not actually to get information, to see what other websites it's linking to. Wikipedia can be a good jumping point for finding other resources. Also look at recent articles in the journal, or if you have a society, maybe looking at the annual meeting and what people have been presenting about when they've given talks at those annual meetings. These things will help you see what is important to people in your industry right now. It's also important to look at social media, because that's really developing a lot right now, of your own product or journal or society, and then also of your competitors. A lot of people are looking to be content marketers right now, so they're aggregating a lot of stories that they're finding about the industry. So looking at their websites and seeing the content that they're posting can really be a quick way to find out a lot. Also, any surveys that you've done of your customers or readers or authors can be really useful to this section as well. And as I will continue to emphasize, your coworkers are some of your strongest tools. Talk to anybody who's customer-facing. They actually will learn a lot while they're having small talk with customers on the phone or attending their meetings. They may have some information that you're not finding online, and that's worth asking them about as well. Focus groups are another good idea if you have the resources to do that. So as you're doing this marketing section, really try and be realistic and look for both positive and negative trends that you're seeing in the industry. I tend to be an optimist, but I really try and be conscientious of that when I look at these marketing analysis section, because knowing what negative things could be trending in your industry will really help you be better prepared and make smarter marketing decisions. So we've been working our way kind of around the circle here. We started with analysis and did market research, and we're really going to do one more deep analysis section before we jump into continuing your marketing plan. And I want to emphasize that as you're doing this marketing plan, we're talking about it section by section, but a lot of times as you're doing one section, you'll find information that's good for another section. So don't just complete these independently. Keep in mind the big picture and what information you find in one that might fit in very well for the other. So next section we're going to talk about is competitor analysis. Knowing what your product is and where it fits in is really strong and very helpful for your marketing, but you also want to know what everybody else is doing in the industry, and that'll help you position yourself in really a unique way. Our competitors aren't exactly our enemies, but they are people that we're working against, and we really want to know a lot about them and ourselves so that we can avoid disaster, like this quote says, but also just succeed in our marketing. So what we tend to do for competitor analysis is we'll write down our publication, since that's mostly what we work with. You can maybe put down your society, and then decide on a number of categories that we're looking to compare ourselves to the competitors on. We put all of those just into an Excel document, like all of you probably have, and then just work through finding the websites and collecting all the information that we have. This helps give a big picture of what's going on and how your journal stacks up to other journals or societies. I tend to actually like to go through and highlight different things that are popping out to me, what's my journal's doing better than the competition, and just identifying that physically. You can see it all at once and see the big picture. As you're doing this, those strengths that you're finding that are different than everybody else really helps you develop your competitive advantage and how you want to position yourself in a unique way within the marketplace. So now we finally finished with all of our analysis, and we're basically going to synthesize all of it into a SWOT analysis. If you haven't heard of SWOT before, it stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's a pretty useful tool for marketing. Typically, you'll see it kind of in this quadrant type style, and this just gives you, again, one look, one place that you can find all of your information. So when you're developing your strengths and weaknesses, these are things that are internal to your product and things that you kind of have control over. I tend to look at the product and situation analysis that I've already developed earlier in the marketing plan to really complete these sections, because I've already thought about most of this information. I'm just formalizing it into one document. The things that you identified as your competitive advantage and that competitor analysis can definitely be a strength here. Your opportunities and threats are more of external things that you don't have control over. These are things that you've noticed in your marketing research and your competitor analysis, and you're just writing them all down in these sections. This is a worksheet of sorts from Mind Tools that has the quadrant of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and also gives you a few questions to ask yourself to help flesh out these sections if they're not familiar to you. So just for an example, this is a SWOT analysis that I created of dark chocolate, something I really love, but it still has strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, just like anything does. Some of the strengths are, the wonderful, pleasing taste, that it stimulates the endorphins in your brain, it increases blood flow to your brain. There's a lot of positive things about the product of dark chocolate that are, internal to what it is. Some weaknesses, though, it's high in fat. That could deter some people. It melts easily. I can't take it outside on a hot summer day because it'll probably melt. And some people see it as having a bitter taste. Some of the opportunities that, though, might exist for dark chocolate are that there are a lot of studies currently that are being circulated about the benefits of dark chocolate. I don't control those studies, but those are things that I could take advantage of when I'm trying to market dark chocolate. It's very in style. It's popular for after workouts because apparently it's healthy for you then. I don't know, or that's the excuse I use. And other flavors can be added to it. Just, some vague external things that exist for dark chocolate. Threats, it is in style. It's also in our opportunity. In a SWOT analysis, you can have things that are both opportunities and threats because, while it's an opportunity now, it could change. You're not in control of it, and it could go out of style tomorrow. That's a threat that could exist. Also, it's seen as a dessert, so maybe people aren't having it for breakfast. These are external things you need to keep in mind as you're doing your SWOT analysis. This is kind of a silly example just to get you familiar with how a SWOT typically works. But this is a really great tool for synthesizing all of the analysis that you already have, you've already done in your marketing plan, and just putting it in one document. If you don't get feedback from your coworkers on any other section of your marketing plan, I really recommend doing it on your SWOT analysis, because this is the place where you've collected all of your analysis and put it into one document. Talking to your coworkers and other people who interact with your product will help you see if you're looking at this in a correct way, if they have different opinions. Just getting other voices in on the conversation strengthens your SWOT analysis. Also, this is a really good time just to get everybody on the same page, make sure they know, any threats that might be coming up, anything they should be aware of, or really, celebrate the strengths and opportunities that you have. And also, this is a good time to just kind of brainstorm and talk about how are you going to take advantage of these opportunities and build on them to really help your product? And how are you going to counteract these threats if they do end up fleshing out? So like I said, your SWOT condenses your analysis and research and places it all in one document. It's a really good tool for you to have on hand and use moving forward as you develop your marketing tactics. So finally, we are ready to dive into what people really think of as marketing. Choosing who you're going to send an email campaign to and what that email is going to say. So your target audience and goal strategies and tactics. But just like we've been very, conscientious about all the steps and analyzing everything carefully, we want to do that with choosing who we're going to send this to and what we're going to send them. Philip Coulter is kind of seen as one of the early marketers and definitely a marketing guru. And the kind of heart of his marketing concept is that marketing, you want to respond to the needs of your audience in a way that really helps them out. And being able to position your product in a way that does that will actually make marketing effective. So knowing who your consumers are and what they value and what those, things that are going to help them are will help you better market to them. When you're looking to develop your target markets, think about what you learned in the market research and what's important to them. Your consumer analysis, what you currently know about your consumer base and any information you gathered there, who your competitors are marketing to, and who their target audiences are. You might not want to have it be the exact same target markets, but maybe it is if you think that you can position yourself well and do that successfully. And also keep in mind your situation analysis. If your institutional subscription rates are, skyrocketing and doing really well, that might not be somebody you want to target with this marketing plan. You might want to focus more on individuals. Knowing what's going on with your journal helps you make better decisions about who you're going to target with your marketing activities. I recommend choosing about 4 target audiences. This keeps it, focused and limited and not spreading yourself too thin. Choose who your target markets are going to be, list those out, and then trying to find why they would want your journal or service and include any other information, about their habits, what's important to them, maybe if they're using social media or not, because that's kind of a hot topic right now. Just knowing what's important to your target market and defining how your product is going to fulfill that need. This is a pretty simple fill in the blank that I think is really useful. Blank, so your target audience should purchase blank, your product, because of what? Being able to complete this in about 20 words or less helps you develop a focused message that you're going to continually return to as you're doing your marketing to this target audience. And you're just going to keep these target audiences in mind as you develop all of your marketing tactics in the future. Would this appeal to them? You just always want to keep your customer in mind as you're developing your marketing because, just like art's in the eye of the beholder, so is marketing. If it doesn't fit for what would be important to them, they're not going to like it and it's not going to appeal to them and it's just going to fall flat. So, carefully define your target audience, get really set in stone who you're going to target and focus on, and then you're finally ready to move into your goals, strategies, and tactics. Instead of just jumping straight into tactics, developing goals, strategies, and tactics helps keep everything focused and on target and really integrate your whole campaign into one. So defining your goals is the first step that you want to do. Like I said, you want to make sure this is part of your larger business goals and then also fits in well with what's going on in your situation analysis. Your goals are where you want to be. So think about those short-term, things that are going on with your situation analysis. And it could vary for everybody. It could be very different. These are just some vague, examples of what your goals could be for your journal or a society. It really depends what's going on with your product. So think about that situation analysis, but also keep in mind where you want to be in, say, 5 years or 10 years. If you have any long-term goals you're trying to achieve for your product, what steps and goals would you need to accomplish now that would set you up well for the future? Keep that in mind and keep the big picture in mind as you're defining your goals. And I definitely recommend doing this. We've got a group of people down there thinking together. Do this in a team. We're all working on the products together, so you want to make sure everybody's part of this goal-setting process. When you're working on defining your goals, you want to make sure that they're SMART goals. We've referenced this acronym in past webinars just because it is really useful when you're setting your goals. You want to make sure they're specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. All of your goals are going to be supported by strategies and tactics, so they can still be fairly broad, but you want to make sure that they are SMART goals. I recommend setting about 3 goals so that you're, not spreading yourself out too thin. Maybe have a couple short-term goals and one long-term goal that you're focusing on. And then all of your marketing tactics are going to support these goals. So you want to make sure you take the time to make sure they're really what you want to be achieving for your product. So your goals, like I said, are supported by your strategies. So that's the next section that we're going to look at. Your strategies are answering the question, how? You're not going to achieve your goal of making 10% more revenue on your subscriptions by sending an email. That's kind of a disconnect. The email is not going to lead directly to more revenue. So it's kind of the in-between of your tactics and your goals. It's kind of a tough kind of idea to wrap your head around, but I'm going to try and give you some examples so that we can understand it better. You can have multiple strategies that are going to support one goal, and you can actually have strategies that support multiple goals, which can be kind of confusing. But just making sure everything ties back to your original goal will keep you on target and keep you integrated. So, for example, if my goal for a journal is to increase the submissions, the number of articles that are coming in by 10% by the end of 2013. 2 of the strategies that I might look to work on are engaging the current author base that we have. That's one avenue that I'm going to pursue to try and increase my submissions. Another idea I might have is to reach out to people that are new to the field and really target them with my marketing. While you're developing these strategies, keep your SWOT close at hand. Those opportunities and strengths that you identified can really transition well into good strategies. So finally, we are at tactics. It took us a long time to get there, but we finally have a lot of really good information that has prepared us to make educated decisions, make sure our tactics are achieving the goals that we want, and really integrating them into the big picture for our business. So keep all of that research you've done and all of that analysis in mind as you're developing your tactics, but especially keep in mind your target audience. You always want to be looking through that lens of what's important to them. Also your market research, what's going on, what things are developing or declining in your market. That's really important to keep in mind. And any past efforts that you had, because if they're not going to work, they didn't work in the past, you don't want to waste your time and your money doing that again. Some of the tactics, for example, are to email thank you notes to authors, email a call for papers. These are all things that are engaging the current author base. Maybe add a social media share button to the page where your article is submitted. Examples of times where we're reaching out to new people. Maybe we can buy lists from another society of their student members and target them with an email campaign, or we could mail them information about the journal. You want to have every step that you would need for a campaign in this list of tactics, and this is really your to-do list. For each tactic, you want to define what it is going to be, who it's going to, when are you going to do it, how much is it going to cost, and how are you going to analyze if it was successful or not. This is just kind of an example of one of the tactics and how it would break out for each one of those sections. There are a ton of marketing activities that you can do, and it can be overwhelming to choose from all of them, but just continually returning to your strategies and your goals and remembering what you learned from all your analysis can really help you make educated decisions. Just keep all of that in mind as you are setting your tactics and writing them out, and just keep remembering that you're integrating all of this research that you've already done. If you're interested in learning about some new marketing tactic ideas, Allen Press presented a webinar a couple years ago about creative marketing ideas for the budget challenge. If you're interested in seeing maybe some fresh ideas, look at this webinar. I also look at a lot of my competitors and see what marketing they're doing and what ideas I can get from that. Just keeping your eyes open and collecting those ideas is a great way to develop your tactics. Once you have those ideas, continually returning to what's going to work well for you, not just repeating what somebody else has done, is really important. So you've developed SMART tactics, and this is the whole point that you made a whole marketing plan. All of this research went into developing your tactics. So really make it count when you're developing the section and take your time. Don't just rush into it or use the same things you did last year. Be very deliberate about your decisions. And once you have all of those tactics written out and you've already defined when they're going to be, I recommend putting them all into a calendar. This is an example of the calendar we use at Allen Press, simple Excel. We list all of the tactics that we're going to do, like sending renewals, sponsoring a conference, going to meetings. Mark out when it's going to be, and that way you can look at one document and you don't have to be digging through your marketing plan all the time. This is helping you make sure that you execute all of your carefully planned ideas. You've put so much time and effort into making sure you have good tactics. You don't want to, let that go to waste just because you forgot to do that and let it slip by, and it was the end of the year and you never executed your tactics. Schedule Outlook reminders if you're very forgetful. This can just send you a reminder, and that way you don't even have to look at anything, any document or your calendar. Just to be, extra safe. What works best for you. And include your budget and costs on your calendar. Unfortunately, a lot of marketing costs money, and you need to keep it within your means. So this marketing calendar is a good place to keep track of all that, how much you budgeted and how much is going on. Don't be afraid to add new tactics if an opportunity arises, but when you do, remember that you are on a budget and you might need to get rid of a tactic that you had already planned to do if you want to spend that money somewhere else. You don't want your marketing plan to be just a dead document that you never look at again. This really needs to be a living document that you're continually revisiting. And we literally put it on the same, Excel document. Track what you're doing and how those marketing campaigns worked out for you. So just as you go, record those results so you can make changes if something's not working, and you can decide to put your money elsewhere. And really analyzing those results takes you back to your analysis where we started this presentation. Like I said, this is bringing you full circle. You'll be better prepared to do this next year. If this presentation has given you all the information that you need or made you interested in doing a marketing plan, the good news is that now's a really good time to start. You can have everything finished by the end of the year and start 2014 on a good foot for having integrated marketing. If you don't have time to flesh out a whole big marketing plan, here's a one-page marketing plan that has some questions that can help you make a marketing plan and be strategic about what you're doing. Finally, this is a slide of all the resources that I mentioned. There are a lot of them in this presentation. This way you can go to one place and just find everything that I mentioned and hopefully get your marketing plan started and all set for next year. So I'm going to turn it back over to Joanna.
Great. Thanks, Bridget. We do have just a few minutes for questions, so if you have questions that you haven't sent in, do go ahead and chat those to me, and we'll try and take care of everything. Several people have asked about the slides and resources. Bridget had a lot of great resources in her presentation. We will make both the slides and the video of today's presentation available on our website, and we'll send out an email once that's done, so you'll be able to get all of those great resources. So I did have a couple of questions come in. One about sending emails to a target audience who maybe is not familiar with you. So if you are sending emails out to people who don't already recognize your brand, what are some strategies that can help ensure that that email is actually opened and read? Okay, well, since you've taken your time to define who your target market is and what they value, what's going to be appealing to them, you can really develop your subject line based on that, pull out maybe some keywords that you think would appeal to them and, work with that information that you have to make sure that email is targeted to them. And just as you're creating that email, keep them in mind. Maybe if it's a young group or somebody who's really active on mobile, you can make sure your email is mobilely optimized. But if it's somebody, a target group that always is on desktops, if you somehow know that information, you wouldn't need to worry about that. Just continually thinking about all that research you've done and what you already know about your target audience will help you, be more successful with your email campaign. Great, absolutely. And if you're using, an email marketing system like Emma or Constant Contact, there are lots of different systems you can use. You can run reports to actually see who received your email, who opened your emails, who actually clicked on the links, and that'll help you kind of determine whether you're having success and whether you maybe need to make some changes the next time you send an email, have a more punchy subject line. Yeah. So great. Another question, how much time should I plan to spend creating my marketing plan? I know you mentioned when you do it next year, you'll spend a lot less time updating it, but for the initial plan, how long should we plan? Really, it just depends how in-depth you want to go into it. I gave you that one-page marketing plan in case you only have a little bit of time and you can just, answer those few questions and start your tactics. I tend to spend, when I've sat down and done it start to finish, within my normal workday, it's usually taken me about 2 weeks to find all the research. But that's because I was new to a lot of these fields. If you're already familiar with a lot of the information, the longer you've been in the field, the quicker this is going to go. And like I said, pulling in your colleagues and getting the information that they already have can really shorten the process. Great. So, Bridget, do you share your marketing plan with journal editors? And if so, do you modify it any before you show it to them, removing project costs or anything like that? That's really at the discretion of our publisher. We have the co-publishing agreement, and, every journal and society and editor is varying degrees of engaged in wanting to know what's going on with their markets. We definitely always share the results of our campaigns. That's really important for them to know. And a lot of times we'll synthesize what we have in our marketing plan and share that with them when we send them our publishing report. That marketing section's kind of a more condensed version of our marketing plan. Yeah, and a lot of times some of the information that you find out in your analysis of like what kinds of articles have been really appealing to people and that type of thing, that can be information you definitely want to share with an editor so they know to kind of target more articles of that nature or in that area, and can kind of help you target your content a little bit too. Yeah, exactly. And for a lot of these tactics that we're doing, like social media, we really need the engagement of the editors and other people who are already working with the journal. So that's really important to include them, and working closely with them can really strengthen the marketing that we do because they're a wonderful resource. So another question, do you have any concern that a call for papers might be perceived as a sign that the journal is desperate or in trouble? I've never heard that specific feedback, but that could be information that's out there. And, I know there's a lot of things about predatory journals and people who are just trying to get money by sending out calls for papers and then charging the submission fees. So I do think calls for papers might have a bad rep right now in some industries, but just knowing your market research keeps you focused and keeps you on target.
And then also having us focus on a specific theme can make your call for papers just something else you want, maybe your target audience wants to read about. So you're asking for more papers about that specific theme. And maybe that would seem less
right. It makes it seem like
sort.
you're, working on a particular project and you want maybe a special issue or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it seem like, oh, we're doing something different, not we're desperate for papers.
Yep.
It looks like that's all of the questions that we have for today, and we are right on time to end. So I want to thank Bridget and also all of our attendees today. I hope that you enjoyed the presentation and that you'll put some of Bridget's ideas to use to improve your own marketing efforts. We will be sending out a brief survey that will include links to both the slides and a video recording of today's session, as I said. Please do take a few moments to complete the survey. We're always looking for feedback on how we can improve future webinars, as well as suggestions for future topics. And don't forget, you can always continue the conversation on both Facebook and Twitter. Thank you.